Coming to you from entertainmentstudios.com, this is Global Business People. Each week, we take you behind the scenes with some of the world's top business minds who share their insight on what it takes to succeed in today's global business. This week on Global Business People,
founder and CEO of Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos tells us how he's built his multi-billion-dollar company.
I think many of the companies that have failed in the internet space were not really focused on their customers, and they weren't really focused on trying to build lasting companies.
Carol Black, president and CEO of Lifetime, tells us how she's turned Lifetime into the #1 cable network.
In the workplace, and it's no different than personal life, relationships are everything.
.com billionaire and owner of the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, shares with us his secrets for success.
My job is to put everybody in the organization in a position to succeed. You have the commitment that we're going to support you to be successful, and if you do your job and you give 150%, we're all going to be happy and win championships and make money.
These extraordinary entrepreneurs share with us their secrets for success and more, right here on Global Business People. Jeff Bezos isn't exactly your typical CEO. In fact, everything about him and his company, Amazon.com, defy convention. How else can you explain how a man who had an extremely successful career on Wall Street would leave his job, move across the U.S. to Seattle, and start a company that would become the world's largest e-tailer?
I went to Princeton specifically to study physics. I wanted to be a theoretical physicist, and about halfway through the program I realized that I was never going to be, I just wasn't smart enough. There were a few people in the class who were so talented, so good at physics, their brains were wired for it. At the same time, I was still really engaged in my computer science classes, and that was sort of pulling me. And I made the switch, and it was a good decision for me because I wouldn't have been a great theoretical physicist. The single most important thing is to first and foremost prepare yourself by focusing on your education. It's really important in this modern world to learn how to manipulate symbols really well, to learn math, to learn how to read and write extraordinarily capably. That's really key. Once you've got those things under your belt, go work at a best practices company and learn some of the things that you need to learn in the work environment. Once you've done that, if you have that entrepreneurial bug, if you want to start your own company, find something you're passionate about and find something where you think you can genuinely improve the customer experience. If you can find something that matches both of those criteria, then you'll be on your way. In the spring of '94, I came across this startling statistic that web usage, worldwide web usage, was growing at 2,300% a year. That was really the wake-up call. Things don't grow that fast ordinarily. We chose books as the first best product to sell online primarily because books are very unusual in one respect, and that is that there are more items in the book category than there are items in any other category. So there are literally millions of books active and in print, and computers are very useful for sorting and organizing such a large collection of items. So that was why books first. The second thing that we did was music, and we did that because customers asked us to do music, and then they asked for video. And what we found over time was that we could ask customers, okay, send out a sample, a survey to customers and say, what would you like to see us sell? And that comes back incredibly long-tailed. People want us to sell everything. And so our goal is to be the place where people can come to find and discover anything that they might want to buy online. And we've added electronics and tools and kitchen, and now we have a relationship with Target, and so all of the merchandise that Target sells, we will also have available on the website. Toys and our partnership with Toys R Us. We just started selling magazine subscriptions and computers, personal computers, Apple computers. We'll continue to add new categories. The key things for the long-term success of Amazon.com are for us to continue to innovate. Innovation is very important in our business. I think it's important in all businesses, but especially this one. And what we want to do is have all that innovation be centered on the customer. We talk about Earth's most customer-centric company, listening, inventing on behalf of the customer, and personalizing so that the customer is in the center of his or her own universe. So in the case of personalization, new features that make it easier for customers to discover the things that may be of particular interest to them. In the case of community, we talk about neighbors helping neighbors make purchase decisions. And so one of the things that we've done is customer reviews. Another thing is list mania. I think we'll find a lot of new innovations in that area as well. And we'll continue to work on those things. That's what will drive our long-term success. I think many of the companies that have failed in the internet space were not really focused on their customers, and they weren't really focused on trying to build lasting companies. They were building stocks that they could flip in some cases, and that's just not who we are. We've started in a different era at a different time, and we really started for, I think, the right reasons, and we wanted to build something new. I was incredibly lucky because I got to spend so much time with my grandparents growing up as a child, all my summers on my grandparents' ranch in Southwest Texas. And I learned a tremendous amount from them. I learned hard work and self-reliance. You know, I think people in rural areas often are very self-reliant. My dad is one of these people who has just an incredible story. He came here from Cuba when he was 15 years old. He didn't speak a word of English. And he's a completely self-made person in every respect. And again, somebody who worked incredibly hard, who always did the right thing for his family, incredibly loving person, and I've just been blessed to have him in my life. The financial success of Amazon.com has not really, doesn't really change me. I consider myself a lottery winner of a certain kind, and when you win the lottery, I think if you were to do a survey of that, you would find of people who won the lottery, you would find it doesn't change the core things about them and who they are. They remain the same people.
When we come back to Global Business People, Carol Black, President and CEO of Lifetime, tells us how she turned Lifetime into the #1 cable network.
I think people make a terrible mistake in business by putting profit first.
And .com billionaire and owner of the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, shares with us his secrets for success.
I really didn't even know anything about PCs, but I figured no one else did either, so if I just put in the time to learn them faster, then I would be able to start a little business.
Carol Black and Mark Cuban, true global business people. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
What do women really want? President and CEO of Lifetime, Miss Carol Black, seems to know. She's worked for Procter & Gamble, did marketing for Disney, then she became the first woman to be appointed chief of a major station in Los Angeles, KNBC, which she led to #1, and did all of this while raising a son. Now, with her extensive experience in marketing and motherhood, Ms. Black is leading Lifetime into the living rooms and hearts of American women.
Our mission is to entertain, to inform, and to support women. And fortunately, we find when we do our research that we not only do those things, but we also inspire women. If I looked at the whole competitive marketplace and needed to specify one thing that made Lifetime different than everything else, I would say that women trust Lifetime. I think that comes out of being an emotional brand. We come from the heart. If you look at all of our shows, you'll see that at the center there are relationships, and there is a heart feeling. I would say we're heartfelt. People have described that about our brand. It's very hard for people to feel emotional about a brand. It's what you always see. Lifetime's future, in my mind, is the sky's the limit. We're expanding globally. Our programming is in a lot of countries in Lifetime blocks, and we're growing in that way. Actually, Intimate Portrait is often the #1 or #2 show in other countries on networks, especially women's networks. And it's interesting because they're usually American stories, but we have a brand that transcends that, and these are heroines all over the world. And I just think it's pretty endless because as long as we stay in touch with women and understand what they want, we'll be there for them. And I think the future looks very, very bright. I think I'm not different than other women in that I've had a lot of challenges and obstacles, in my career. First of all, it's very important to have a sense of humor. Very important. And people that come, in the work world and can't laugh at things, I mean, forget it. It's going to seem like a very long life of work. Setting goals is very important, both personally and professionally. On a professional level, I think it's extremely important because I think the team wants goals. People want to grow. If you're not growing, you're dying. And people want to grow and they want to be challenged. And it is amazing how much people will stretch, and they're like, next year then they want to set higher goals, and I think, oh my gosh, well, I don't know if we could achieve that, but if you want to do it, great. In the workplace, and it's no different than, your personal life, relationships are everything. And understanding people and putting oneself in someone else's place and having empathy for them is extremely important. I don't think there is anything more important than relationships that you have in this world. I think that's why we're here. So it's always been at the forefront with me. And my key job is to start with people, because if you hire the right people and support the people that you already have in place and are supportive of them, you're going to get the right product, whether that's our programming or our marketing or our publicity or the greatest engineers working best. And now that you're going to make the most profit. I think people make a terrible mistake in business by putting profit first. I think if you put people first, the rest of it will follow. Being a single parent is difficult as one has a career because you're always pulled in two different directions. You can have it all, you just can't have it at the same time. And so I think it's very important. Your children are going to be with you forever. You're always going to have that relationship. I think there are certain times of your life you have to put your children first. And maybe you didn't get that next advancement just that year, but that'll happen later. The one thing I made sure of, though, is that I was there for all of the important events for my son. Fortunately, I got to do that, but there were a few occasions in which I would explain to him why I couldn't be there because I was traveling or something. Because we've always had a great relationship, he was always the most understanding and most supportive of me. My heroes growing up were two people, my grandmother and my grandfather. They essentially raised my sister and I, and they were the most amazing people. They came from another country. Both of them had seen their families massacred, and they came to the United States and they thought that this was, and it is, the greatest country on earth. And they taught us that we were so lucky to be born as Americans, and that we could do anything we wanted to do, and that life was a wonderful adventure. And I hope I've kept true to their spirit. My advice to all women would be to believe in yourself and to trust your gut instincts and do the thing you love. I tell you, if you go down any other path, you're not going to be real happy. It's not going to turn out how you hoped. And even if other people don't believe in what you're doing, if you believe in yourself, you work really hard, you'll reach those goals that you want to reach. And if you don't, you'll love what you're doing. You'll love it along the way. It's very important to wake up every day and be excited about life.
Coming up next, dot-com billionaire and owner of the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban shares with us his secrets for success.
What I did was everything from going and picking up people's PCs, their IBM PCs and XTs, and installing software to teaching them how to use Lotus 1, 2, 3, and then over time expanded that to 80 people and a $30 million run rate.
The power of valuable information is unstoppable, so don't go away. We'll be right back. On the next episode of Global Business People, founder and CEO of Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos, President and CEO of the Lifetime Cable Network, Carol Black, and billionaire Mark Cuban. All here on Global Business People. On the next episode of Global Business People, Jeff Bezos, Carol Black, and Mark Cuban.
He's the man who owns the Dallas Mavericks. He's Mark Cuban, and he's not your ordinary team owner.
It was a company called Micro Solutions, and it was right when people were just starting to use PCs, and I really didn't even know anything about PCs, but I figured no one else did either, so if I just put in the time to learn them faster, then I would be able to start a little business. And what I did was everything from going and picking up people's PCs, their IBM PCs and XTs, and installing software to teaching them how to use Lotus 1, 2, 3, and then over time expanded that to being one of the first local area networking resellers and systems integrators for what was then called Novell Shared Data Systems and televideo systems, and just grew it from there, from just me to 80 people and a $30 million run rate until we sold it to CompuServe in 1990. We started broadcast.com as AudioNet back in mid-1995. A buddy of mine, Todd Wagner, came to me and said, look, Mark, there's got to be a way for us to be able to listen to sports, and in particular Indiana University basketball. We both had gone to Indiana using the internet. And he was like, you're the geek, figure it out. And I'm like, All right, that sounds like a good idea. So we started in the second bedroom of my house, bought a $49 GE Super Radio, a Packard Bell PC for $3,000, and we had an ISDN line. Found a local radio station called KLIF and asked to get permission from them to broadcast our signal on the net. And around our site called AudioNet, we went online and went to chat rooms and discussion groups and wherever we could get people to pay attention and said, look, if you're interested in Dallas sports, come to audionet.com and you can listen to radio, sports talk radio. And we had no idea how people would respond, but we just, over time, as we promoted it more, we started getting a better and better response. From people listening internationally to people being stuck in their offices to diehard sports fans who couldn't get enough. And that's how it got started, and it grew from there. I think every sports fan out there at some point says I could do it better, and I was no different than the rest. I remember exactly when it hit me that I could do something. It was opening day, the 99-2000 season. We were playing the Golden State Warriors, and traditionally in sports, opening day is a big deal. You go out and get crazy, and everybody goes to the game, and you pretty much sell out all the home openers. But not only was it not sold out, the crowd wasn't even that excited about the game, and I was like, this is terrible. I was embarrassed, and it was the end of October, 1999, and I'd just gotten liquid from the sale of broadcast.com to Yahoo, and I was like, wow. Not only can I think that I can do it better, I can put my money where my mouth is. And so that's when it kind of got in my head to contact Ross Perot Jr., who owned the Mavericks at the time, and see if I could do a deal. And the rest is history. It's a business, and it's not that much different from most other businesses. Like any business, you want to give all your employees confidence that they succeed, and you want them to know that as the owner or management or whatever, that you believe in them and that you're willing to invest in them to help them improve. On the flip side, you also want them to believe that if we as an organization invest in them, that if they don't make the same commitment back, they're not going to have a job. My job is to put everybody in the organization in a position to succeed, and the player's job is to give 150% on the court and in preparation before they go on the court, and salespeople's job is to give 150% selling tickets, and the receptionist's job is to give 150%, making sure that everybody feels warm and fuzzies whenever they contact the organization. But that's the culture that I've tried to build, that you have the commitment that we're going to support you to be successful. And if you do your job and you give 150%, we're all going to be happy and win championships and make money. The nature of the media in sports is just to be continuously critical. They're always looking for something wrong. Every now and then they'll come up with a nugget that's well thought out, and I'll pay attention and try to learn from it. But more often than not, they just rehash the same 12 topics, and they substitute my name for somebody else, and after me they substitute someone else's name for mine. So you just ignore it, and I go about doing what's worked for me for the past 20 years in my business life. I'm just myself. I don't try to put myself in a position to be a role model. And I don't think it's so much me as just the circumstances. I've been very, very fortunate, and when you see somebody who's set a dream and been able to fulfill a lot of it, whether it's broadcast.com and what's going on there, or the Mavericks, then I think just like I would want to put myself in those shoes too, if it and I'm glad to be in these shoes.
Hi, I'm Byron Allen, and welcome to EntertainmentStudios.com, your entertainment e-commerce superstore. Entertainment Studios is an online entertainment network and superstore that offers free access to over 1,500 celebrity interviews, plus entertainment news, auctions, and celebrity home tours. At the EntertainmentStudios.com Superstore, we offer over 1 million items, including books, CDs, videos, DVDs, toys, games, electronics, Hollywood collectibles, sports memorabilia, and even fine art at low wholesale prices. EntertainmentStudios.com is offering a $10,000 cash giveaway just for shopping at our superstore. So log on to EntertainmentStudios.com and shop for your chance to win $10,000 cash.
Coming to you from EntertainmentStudios.com. Thanks for joining us on Global Business People. See you next week.